let's talk about the best budget Prebuilt gaming PCs for the month of May 2022. My last video was about the best gaming PCs overall to buy right now, but this time is different because I'm going to go over different PCs for a low budget from $600 all the way up to $1,200. So if your budget is between those prices, you wanna watch this whole video because it will be helpful for you. One thing that I have to say before starting this video is that I didn't put any upgradable gaming desktop with integrated graphics because I actually recommend you building it by yourself. Prebuilt PCs are actually pretty bad for upgradability with integrated graphics. Now I have a bunch of videos in my channel that you can go ahead and watch them if you want an upgradable gaming desktop to put a graphics card later on. With that being said, let's start with this video. With the first PC and the cheapest one on the list, we have the HP Pavilion TG01 2170M coming in at $600. Well, it's actually a little bit cheaper than that because what you want to do is click on customize and buy and change the graphics card to the GTX 1650 Super, and it's going to be cheaper and better because the default graphics card is the RX 5500, which is worse than the 1650 Super, so you're getting a better graphics card at a lower price. Then you get the Ryzen 3 5300G for the CPU, 8 GB of RAM on dual channel, and 256 GB of SSD. Overall, I think it's a pretty good starter gaming desktop at 1080p, especially for competitive titles such as Valorant and CSGO. Now, I do recommend you upgrading the RAM and the storage later on if you cannot do it right now, but if you're willing to spend another $100 extra, I do recommend you buying another gaming desktop that I will mention on this list. But if you don't want to spend those extra $100, I think this PC is actually pretty good at 1080p, and you will be able to play games such as GTA 5 at 60 FPS on average, medium to high settings, which is actually pretty good if you're considering to play those games. But if you want to play more high-end video games like Red Dead Redemption 2, I do recommend you though buying the next one, which is going to be way better for those type of games, and the price difference is not that big. So the next one is the Victus 15L for $700, so like I said before, $100 of difference, and here you get the GTX 1660 Super, which is much better than the 1650 Super, and then you get the Ryzen 5 5600G, which once again much better than the Ryzen 3 5300G. Then the RAM and the storage is the same. I do recommend you upgrading it later on if you cannot do it right now, just like the last one, but this PC is much better overall for gaming. You are going to be able to run games like Red Dead Redemption 2 at 60 FPS on average, of course depending on the graphic settings, and then for competitive games you're going to be able to run them at above 144 FPS for sure. So if you want to buy a 144Hz monitor, feel free to do this with this PC. The only downside for both the HP Pavilion and the HP Victus is that these PCs are not so upgradable. If you want to change, let's say, the GPU to an RTX 3070, you will have to buy a new case, a new motherboard, and a new power supply. So if you want to upgrade a bunch of things down the line, you will have to buy new components. But the things that you can swap out on this PC are the GPU, the CPU, the RAM, and the storage. But if you want something that's upgradable down the line and it's similar on performance, you have the Skytech Blaze 2, which is around $880, and here you get the GTX 1660. It's not the 1660 Super, but it will be similar in terms of gaming. Then you get the i5 10400F, which once again is similar to the Ryzen 5 5600G, and here you get 1TB of SSD and 16 GB of RAM, so you don't have to worry about upgrading anything right now. You also get a 600W 80+ volt power supply, so like I said before, if you want something for future upgradability, this one is better, and the performance is going to be fairly similar. It's not going to be as good as the 15L, but remember that here you get upgradability. And if you have a budget above $1,000, for $1,150 you can get the ABS Master Gaming PC. This one has the i5 11400F, which is a really good budget CPU. Right now there is a new 12th gen of Intel, which is much better, but at this price point is really hard to get on a Prebuilt PC. You can get it on a PC build though, and I do recommend you buying a PC build, but some people don't want to build it by themselves, which is totally understandable, and that's why I make these Prebuilt PC videos. And this Prebuilt PC, it's actually pretty good because you get the RTX 3060 as well, so it's a great CPU GPU combination, and you get 16 GB of RAM and 500 GB of SSD, and the airflow overall for this PC is actually pretty good because of that front mesh panel. Now, the only downside for this PC is going to be the 500 gigs of SSD. It's not great, but it's not terrible. If you're planning on playing high demanding video games and doing a bunch of video editing, then you wanna add a terabyte to this PC. But if you're not, then I think 500 gigs of SSD might be enough. This PC for 1080p is going to be excellent. The RTX 3060 is actually capable of 1440p at 60 FPS on average as well. It really depends on the games that you want to play though, but for a 1080p 240Hz monitor, this PC is actually going to be really decent, and it's also great for newer generation games at this resolution. So that was the whole video. I know it was short, but I hope it was helpful. If you found it helpful, please hit a like and subscribe, but most importantly, hit that bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week. And remember that if you change your mind and you want a PC build, you can watch one of my latest videos about the $1,500 PC build, which is actually excellent for 1080p and 1440p, so you might want to check that out. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.